Close to the next. Yeah, you can start up. They're just recording. Are we recording? We're not streaming, but we're recording. We'll just have to put it on later. Okay. All right. Well, I'll call the order at 9:08. Please rise. I, Adam Henderson, pastor at Radiant Church, to open us in our invitation.
Great. God, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity just to be in the prayer and to discuss in the year. God, I pray that you would use today, even as James declares, Lord, that you would give us wisdom. God, it says that if anyone lacks, anybody needs wisdom, Lord, that we should ask you. And so we ask for your wisdom. God, I thank you that unity, I thank you that peace, Lord Jesus, is here in this place. And so I pray that this meeting will just be blessed by you. Lord, thank you for Zandt County. Thank you for all the wonderful things that you're doing here. And Lord, we just ask that you would continue the good work in which you started here in this place. I pray that you would bless this time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks. All right. Pledge to the U.S. flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. So, call the meeting to order again. We do have a quorum, all commissioners and general announcements. Do we have any general announcements? I would like to say that the debris removal along county roads began last week and it's in process. And naturally, when you start a project like that, you start getting rain, which delays it. So it was delayed 2 days last week because of rain. And it's they were planning to work all weekend and we had rain for the weekend. So they're out there working right now until the next rainstorm comes. So are there any other announcements? Are there any public comments? Did anybody sign up for public comments? No. Right. We'll move to item number 4, consent agenda. Consent agenda are considered routine items by the Commission Court and enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the county judge or commissioner requests them to be removed from the consent agenda. So is there any items that need to be pulled or discussed separately? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? A motion. Is there a second? Second. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 5. Discuss, consider approving the Zandt County Historical Commission annual report. This report was submitted by Ellis Allen. Went through it's in your binder. Is there any discussion? They have been doing quite a bit in the county, and I'm very proud of it. They typically get an award from the Historical Commission for their work, and they have been very involved in getting historical items posted and available. So, is there a motion to accept the Zandt County, approve the Zandt County Historical Commission's annual report?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Zandt County Historical Commission annual report.
All right, motion is made. Is there a second? Second. All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 6, discuss and consider adoption of a revised fire marshal fee schedule. So we'll have our fire marshal, Kevin Palmer, will present.
Thank you. So, if you look at the fee schedule I submitted in the packet, the major changes that I had on there is the first one, where it has type of permit. That first item used to say covered buildings, but not all. We know that not all commercial projects are covered buildings. So I just renamed it as a new construction permit. So that would cover best facilities, solar panel facilities, all that kind of good stuff. That it's anything that is commercial. Well, it does have to go through some type of permitting process through the commissioner's court and through my office specifically. and that's for the health and safety of Van Zandt County. Even if it's on private property, once you are inviting the general public onto your private property for commercial purposes, we have a duty to make sure it's a safe place to go to. So that's one of the big changes. Another change that we had was down on the last page, our on-site sewage facility fees. There was one that was added on there that was kind of it had been kind of an unwritten rule that people were paying, but I don't like unwritten stuff. I like stuff to be written, and that's the OSSF modification. So in that situation, you have a septic tank. The tank itself doesn't need to be moved. It's working fine. But for one reason or another, you're adding sprinklers to the aerobic system or you're moving them, they do have to submit a permit through per TCQ through our office to permit and inspect those modifications. So I'm just adding a fee for that as well. Those are the major changes that I'm adding to this particular fee schedule.
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I'll follow up on OSFF. You got OSFF modification at 200, then you have a re-inspect fee for 200.
Yes, sir. So a re-inspect fee would be if, this is for a new installation. So you put in a permit for a new installation. We gave you an authorization for construction. You scheduled a final inspection. We went and conducted the final inspection and you failed that final inspection. And so now we have to reschedule, you have to fix all the things and we have to come back and re-inspect the system that failed the first time.
Okay. And the late fee for maintenance contract, what is that?
Yes, sir. So at some point, when I finish my strategic plan on how to get things into compliance. So there are a lot of people that do not have yearly, monthly maintenance contracts on their aerobic septic systems. A lot. But right now, I don't have the manpower to go out and chase all those people down. So basically, at some point, I will submit my plans to the commissioners court and I will recommend a large grace period. Basically, a time, hey, I understand, I'm not ignorant to the fact that you probably haven't had a contract for 5 years and you haven't gotten caught, but that time is over. So, you know, whether it's 6 months or whatever that grace period is, we're gonna say, hey, just come get it right, and we'll just charge you the $30. But after that, when we catch you, not only are there gonna be citations, but there's gonna be late fees added for every month that you don't have a monthly maintenance contract. So it's just, I want people to do the right thing. I will give everyone the most opportunity possible to come and do the right thing. But if I have to do a forcing action to make them do the right thing, then I'm gonna do that through monetary means. And so that would be the late fee for that.
So that's per month.
Yes, sir. That would be per month. For every month that you are behind, that you have not submitted your monthly maintenance contract.
And that maintenance contract is state law.
Yes, sir. Nothing on this sheet. I didn't make any of these numbers up. There is a guide put out by the state fire marshal's office on, you know, what's appropriate, what you can charge for, what you can't charge for. I'm very much just do the right thing. And so no, I don't make any of this stuff. I didn't make any of these numbers up. This was all done from research and looking at other counties. We're on the cheaper side to most counties surrounding us. And I'm okay with that because I think these are fair numbers.
And what steps will you use to publish this information to the public?
So that's why I say it'll be a very strategic plan because I can't just use one medium. I can't just use the commissioner's court. I've got to catch all the Van Zandt County. So I'm gonna rely on people like Branson Sun, newspapers, Cam Herald. I'm gonna use social media. I'm gonna use mailings because we have a list with, for example, on the monthly maintenance contracts, we know who's overdue. We have addresses, so we'll do mailings. I'll try to do, you know, possibly interviews on the radio. I will use as many outlets as possible to reach as many people because I want to reach all of Van Zandt County. I don't want ignorance to be a reason. Well, I didn't know can't be a reason anymore. So I will use every medium that I can to get the word out when that time comes. Now I encourage people now, if you hear it now, let's start getting right now. Because when that time comes, it'll come quick and it'll come fast.
So I have a question on on the new installs on $200 fee for the application, and then to come back if they fail, the $200.
Yes, sir.
Is that, I guess what I'm asking is if that fails, if that system failed, is that person that paid that installer to do it, is he responsible for that 200? Because I don't see that being.
So it's kind of like the tariffs, what gets passed on to the consumer. The fee is paid by the installer. And I will say, we're not looking for ticky-tack stuff. If it's little things that can be corrected on the spot, we don't say, hey, you failed, I'm coming back some other time. We just fix it. Or if it's even the same day, we'll come back. We're talking about like, it was egregious. You were trying to get away with some
Okay.
stuff.
Okay, I just wanted to clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's gonna be on the installer.
Yeah, it's on the installer. It goes to the installer, not the homeowner.
Yeah. Homeowner should have a contract,
Yes,
and
sir.
that contract should be set in stone. If he doesn't perform that contract, it's on the contractor.
Yes, sir.
So you're just trying to hold the contractor
Yes, sir.
responsible. That's good.
And the same on the maintenance fee contracts. The maintenance fee contracts are not being paid because that contractor is likely not operating in this county any longer.
I've had a mixed bag. So I have, gone and tried to make contact with around 10 people that didn't have monthly maintenance contract, anywhere from a year to they haven't had it for 10 years. Some of it was they had someone that was doing the maintenance. That person's installer left, and they had a hard time finding another installer, and they basically just kind of threw their hands up in the air. I have come to the place where someone new has moved in, and they were talking to their neighbor about, how much, about their monthly maintenance installer, and the neighbor said, man, I haven't paid that thing in 10 years. You're a dummy for paying that. And they just stopped paying. So some people know that they're supposed to have it. I'd say about half the people know that at least half the people know that they're supposed to have it. And because there's no enforcement action, they're just not paying it. And there is a good group of people that moved from outside of Texas. They've never had a septic tank. They have no idea how a septic tank works. They buy a house and they were never told. Maybe it's in the fine print, but they really, I believe they truly didn't know they're supposed to have anything in the contract. That'll be the part where I get the word out to everybody, that I'm doing that. So to my knowledge, I have the ability to waive some of these fees. And so, right now, that's what my office is doing. So if someone comes into my office right now, Michelle is not gonna charge them a $50 late fee. She's just, thank you for coming back in and getting right, and she's just charging them the $30. Right. But when that time comes, I want to have the ability to charge late fee. So that's, those are the major changes on this.
Okay, on the occupancy permits,
Yes, sir.
you got all commercial or public occupancies.
Yes, sir.
Is there also a requirement for a permit for residential?
No, sir.
No residential, okay.
So the only thing I will say about that is, we still have to follow state law. And, state law requires that residents be built in compliance with like the National Electric Code, National Building Codes. But we don't have to, as a county, enforce that. We can basically take their word for it that they're doing the right thing. I'm not a big fan of enforcing residential stuff. It's single family homes. In fact, even the state of Texas, it's a big fan of, because the newest editions of some of the fire codes had required sprinklers in all new construction homes, and the Texas Supreme Court actually ruled against them. So, no, sir, to answer your question.
But commercial and public do have requirements for sprinkler systems, correct?
Some of them, yes, sir. It depends on the occupancy. So my job as a fire marshal, if you come in and you say that you need a fire inspection, one of the first questions I ask is, okay, what kind of business are you? Is it an assembly? Is it a daycare? Is it a mercantile? What is it? Because in the fire codes, there are general requirements, things that everybody has to have. like an emergency action plan. And then the next step is when in the code, you go to that section that governs assemblies, daycares, mercantile, all that kind of good stuff. And it goes by occupancy. So depending on what type of occupancy you are, that tells me, what you have to have for fire and life safety. So no, not all new commercial built properties have to have sprinkler systems, no, sir.
Okay. And you have here service stations and other flammable liquid or oxidizer storage facilities.
Yes, sir.
Is that gas stations?
And that would be an example, yes, sir.
Okay, because if you're going to have to permit all of them, you're gonna need more help.
I agree, sir.
Okay, you're not gonna be able to do that with the staff you have right now. So I guess we'll be hearing about it budget time, huh?
Yes, sir. So at budget time, I plan on putting a packet together, that is justified as much as possible. So y'all see my monthly report, you see that this office, at the end of the year, we have a budget surplus. Now, I understand that it's not a zero-sum game. I'm never gonna ask this court for all of the monies that this office brings in, because there are different departments that they do not have a budget surplus at the end of the year. But I can look at, if I bring on 2 more people, for example, and I'm able to enforce these things, that exponentially increases the amount of what we're bringing in. So essentially, I'm paying, my staff is, paying their salary and making money for the county. And I will do my best to quantify that and put that into numbers when I submit my packet during budget time. Because I personally haven't walked in to a business in Van Zandt County that is properly permitted through my office. Not one.
Okay. And going back to the permits, on a new construction permit, what did you base the fee schedule off of? Did you use somebody else, some other counties or some other?
No, sir, the actual fees itself were the same fees that this court had adopted last year. And it was in line with what other counties our size charge. And I wanted to put new construction because this process is supposed to start before you ever move a single piece of equipment onto that property, anything. So before you put a shovel, before you do anything on that property, that process is supposed to start with this court and my office. I'm supposed to review the plans and make sure that everything is up to code. So that we're not playing catch up like we are on some places today where they're halfway, 3/4 way done with the construction. And I'm just now getting the plans and getting a chance to review them and finding out that they're not in code. And so it helps that sometimes the businesses don't think, but it helps them too. Because it's a lot cheaper to put a sprinkler system in, a sprinkler, or put in a lot of these fire and life safety protection devices when you're first building it, as opposed to when you've already got the walls and the ceilings and everything else up, and then you got to come back through and tear it all down because you got to put sprinklers in. So it also helps the business as well.
Okay, and a lot of these permits, are they like the fixed pipe system and the fire alarm system, are they one-time permits or do they have renew every year, or how does that work?
So it's on a case-by-case scenario. So the way that I classify, the way that the fire code and the way that I look at occupancies, I classify them as low risk, medium risk, or high risk. All high risk facilities will be renewed annually, and I will get eyes on. A good example on that is, so that like fixed pipe systems, sprinkler systems, that could be covered if they're new construction permit. But for example, just last week, Martins Mill High School in the old gym put in a new fire alarm system that they submitted plans for. I approved the plans. They installed the new fire alarm system, and I went and inspected it. That's where.
Okay.
And I would consider schools are considered high risk. So that is something that I go re-inspect every year.
Okay.
Judge, I think on this that we've got a lot of questions on this. And I would be in favor of doing a workshop on this so that, because this is a lot of questions that needs to be asked and thought about a little further on our part.
Yes, sir. So I will say that we have one that is, it runs our fiscal year. So there was one that was approved by this court last budget cycle. So there is already a fee schedule and there has been one for some time. The only thing that I'm adding is I changed the name of, on the top left where I think it says like covered buildings or something like that. I just changed that name to new construction so that it covers all commercial properties, and I added the modification, OSSF modification. But I am welcome to having a workshop. It's just all the questions about so far, most of the questions that I've gotten, those fees are already in place.
What we're talking about is enforcing it.
Yes, sir.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. Now, there is a good word is starting to get out that there's a new fire marshal and there's a new commissioner's court. And so we are getting a lot more permits to our office and we're charging these fees already. So word is starting to get out. So that's phase one. Just usually when there's a person that does random drop-ins, they call business owners, no other business owners. They're like, dang, fire marshal came today, you better get your stuff right. So the word of mouth is already getting out there. That's phase one. I will come back when I have the resources and availability to properly enforce, go out and do the rest.
Would you be opposed, Commissioner, to adopting this since there's not really any substantive changes and then still having a workshop to get people aware of it?
I think we could do that. I just think that if this is all the changes that's being changed on it, I think we could do that, but I think that this could be an education, just a workshop
Agreed.
for a lot of other people.
Absolutely. I'd welcome that.
Question, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, is there a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the revised fire marshal fee schedule.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 7, discuss, consider a community education period for outdoor burning.
Yes, sir. So I want to start off with, at first I was working and, I actually thought about requesting a burn ban. And so I got a lot of funny looks because it's, February, March and, the weather isn't on that, but I want to bring people's attention that weather is not the only indicator that I look at for a burn ban. I look at drought index, but I also look at the number of fires. So I hope that you got my packet and that you looked at those numbers. Holly at the sheriff's office ran a report for me. And because I had to have this submitted on March 6th, I had to run it from January 1st to March 6th. So that was 65 days. And at 65 days, we had 146 grass fires that fire departments had to respond to. 146 in 65 days. And when you break that down, you can look at when the good weather was. So for example, from 14 to 25 January, we had 49 fires in 12 days. February 1st to February 8th, we had 20 fires in 8 days. And then February 21st to March 2nd, we had 63 fires in 10 days. Those are 63 fires that the fire department had to respond to.
Were they 63 that were out of control?
Those are out of control.
Because they got called on me one time.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't out of control.
Yes, sir. So I scrubbed the list. There's actually 2 missing from this list. They came in as structure fires because they were grass fires that were started, got out of control, and burned someone else's property down. So these are not brush piles in someone's backyard. They got out of control, the fire department had to respond, and had the fire department not put it out, it would have caused great havoc.
Well, there seems to be a lack of common sense. We're losing it as a people, and when we do burn bans, we punish people with common sense if we're not careful because of people that don't have common sense.
So that brings me to the next three things that I submitted. I submitted the Texas Administrative Code. I submitted an outdoor burning in Texas that was published by the TCEQ, who is the administrator of the Administrative Code. And this is a guide to outdoor burning. And I'd like you to look that this was revised. This isn't anything new. This isn't within the last 6 months. This guide was published in February of 2015, so it's been around for a decade. And then I also submitted a small, some questions to burning. So what a lot of people don't know is that the state of Texas, TCEQ in particular, is trying to get rid of most outdoor burning in Texas. They do have some exemptions. And so it does not include the maintenance burning of on-site property waste such as fallen limbs, branches, or leaves, or other waste from routine property cleanup activities, nor does it include prescribed burning or burning following clearing or ecological restoration. If you want to read through this guide, it's pretty lengthy. I do recommend that people read through it. I'll kind of give you the cliff notes on it. Is that basically these huge brush piles that are 2 stories tall and 300 feet in diameter, we're not supposed to burn those. Those are actually supposed to be permitted by TCEQ.
What was the size again?
I was giving.
That was like exaggerating.
That was a bad.
So how big is it?
So the 6 foot in diameter, that can be considered a warming fire. And again, this isn't something that I'm making up. This is state law that's already out there, and for good reason, because just like you said, Texas, we have to realize that, we talked about it. I've burned my whole life. I have. Anytime that there's a storm, I'm doing cleanup in my property, I've cut down a tree, whatever, put it into a burn pile and I burn it. Now, I can also tell you, I've never had to call the fire department. And I for sure never let it got out of control and burned my neighbor's shed down, like I had just 2 weeks ago. That's happened. Those are a lot of fires. And, the fire departments, they do not have a budget surplus. The taxes that the county gives the money to the fire departments, just look at any average grass fire, count the number of firefighters, count the number of trucks, the hoses, the equipment, the water, add all that up and see if your tax is paid for your mistake. It doesn't. And so again, I'm not asking for anything out of the ordinary for Van Zandt County to do anything different. I'm just asking us to follow state law. And I'm asking it because those are a lot of numbers. There's a lot of resources, and it was wet. But what people don't understand is that when there's wet ground, even if the ground is wet, but the grass that's 6 inches tall is dead and it's got leaves and dead branches, within 1 hour after it stops raining, it's just as flammable as it was when it's August and it's 100 degrees outside.
Did you find these fires, were they a lot of maybe new residents or like for instance, I had one called on me the other day. It was under control.
Yes, sir.
But it was a brush fire. But a lot of these people in this agricultural community, they have the equipment and it's not out of control, but they get called on.
Yes, sir.
But then you may have all these new people come in and they started, they don't have to, if it gets out, they don't have anything to put it out or anything.
Yeah, so some of the big things that I look for and that's in the administrative code and in that burning guide is there's some general guidelines is that it can never be left unattended. You can't burn at night and you've got to have a water source. Those are things that you have to have. And those things aren't happening. So to answer your question, whether they're new residents, old residents, I would say it's a mixed bag. I would say that the The difference in this county is the growth. So where in the past, they kind of had, yeah, maybe they only owned 20 acres, but outside of their 20 acres was 1,000 acres of nothing. When now there's houses there. Because we're also talking about, I've gotten quite a few calls where people are new residents, and these new residents, they don't get to sit out on their back porch and enjoy a nice evening because their neighbor burns 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and the smoke comes on their back porch. So I kind of go back to, the health and safety code with abatement and things like that. I'm not trying to infringe on your individual rights, but when your individual rights start to infringe on your neighbors, that's a problem.
I agree with that.
So, I mean, I would think that if I had recently moved to Van Zandt County and bought a nice property and I wanted to sit out on the back porch and enjoy a nice evening, and I couldn't because I was getting smoked out every single night, I wouldn't be happy about that. So I think, when I'm thinking about it, and I don't have the answer, I can't answer your question straight up. It's just my opinion. This is my opinion. My opinion is that we are still rural, but more people are coming in. There's new houses being built all the time. So when people for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years, they've been burning no problem at all. Now they've got neighbors, they've got property that they've got fencing up that's getting destroyed. They've got sheds that weren't there that are getting burned up. And they're doing things like they've always done. It's just that their environment has changed. Does that kind of make sense, sir?
So what you're saying is our choice of country living and life is no longer there.
It's diminishing.
We don't have that freedom anymore.
So I am a reasonable man. So I'm not out chasing smoke. So when I'm driving around, like, I'm not looking for plumes of smoke to go put out Mitch Curtis's or Brandon's fire that he's got in his backyard. I'm responding to these numbers right here are where they were out of control. The fire department had to respond, and the fire department had to put it out because the person that started it no longer had that means. So I wouldn't say that our rights as a rural community are being infringed upon. You can still burn as long as you're doing the right things.
6 foot.
6 foot on the honor system, because again, I'm not out there chasing smoke. You can continue to do it, and talk to your neighbors is what I'm asking a lot of people to do. Make sure that, once that smoke leaves your property and gets on someone else's, just look at it.
Well, from my side of it, I've just had some fence rows cleared off. And I've got piles bigger than 6 foot. They're not 300 foot long and they're not 2-story buildings.
Yes, sir.
But the only way I can afford to get rid of it is burning.
Yes, sir.
But the piles are bigger than 6 foot,
Yes, sir.
And
But
you got a dead tree.
at the same.
I mean, you got a big.
At the same time, I have the equipment to take care of it,
Yes, sir.
where probably most people doesn't,
I 100% agree with you. And again, it's kind of like where my personal opinion, there's plenty of laws in the books that I don't agree with.
Right.
It's just my job as the fire marshal, whether it's popular or unpopular, to inform people what state law is. Because I will say that I have 4 options. When I show up and you've destroyed, say, someone else's property, let's go with that. I basically have 4 options. I can, we're talking with, a district attorney or somebody, say, these people have been neighbors for years, they've done it to each other, they would like to enter into a civil agreement, and they're gonna basically, they're gonna pay everything off. Once I leave, it's a civil matter. The lowest citation I can give is for illegal burning. If I issue it, it's a class C misdemeanor, much like a speeding ticket. But if it is a large burning pile that has couches, mattresses, oil, like a bunch of bad stuff in it, and I feel like I need to call TCQ, that's a felony. There's also the charge if you destroy somebody else's property of criminal mischief. And criminal mischief ranges everywhere from a class C misdemeanor to a first-degree felony, depending on how much the property was valued at when it was destroyed. I also have arson, because one of the statutes of arson is you intentionally set a fire and you recklessly destroy the property of another. And that's a 3rd-degree felony. I don't want to make felons out of our citizens. So
Would this apply to like the solar farm too? Because I think we're 75 out there in 773. Can we,
yeah, I'm gathering that data now. For some reason, I'm having some difficulty working with Holly on getting the exact address, but yes, sir, it does apply to them as well.
So the agenda item says discuss and consider a community education period for outdoor burning. What specifically are you requesting or suggesting or?
So I would like to put these 3 documents that I submitted, the Texas Administrative Code, the Outdoor Burning in Texas Field Operations Guide, and the little do's and don'ts for outdoor burning. I'd like to put these on the county website so that people have easy access to them. I'll also be publishing them on my Facebook page so that people have them right away. And I'll also reach out to the local newspapers in Zandt County to see if I can put a link in there or something.
Okay, do we need a motion for that?
I think I don't think it's
I
necessary.
don't think we need
I
to.
don't think it's necessary.
You have permission because that's your job.
All it is,
Absolutely.
all it is an education. I mean,
Again, I know it's not popular, but my job isn't to be popular. But I am a fair man. So I didn't write 165 tickets last year. I did a lot of education. So I just want people to learn from their mistakes and do the right thing.
We don't have the opportunity to be subjective in it though, when there's a law involved. I mean, it's like, you don't have the ability to be subjective where you can evaluate each one.
No, sir. It depends on the scope of there is officer discretion and all that, depending on the thing, but I have called Tonda and, make sure I'm not talking in an echo chamber. I don't like making those decisions on my own. So I do call somebody, hey, this is what I've got. What are your thoughts? And we come up with a solution.
So you think if you drove up on a guy that seemed to be, he's dug a 40-foot hole with a bank all the way around it and he's burning.
Yep.
You can tell that he's
Trying to do the right thing.
well, he's not by law. Because if it's 6 foot, more than 6 foot, he's not doing the right thing according to law, but according to, common sense, you'd say he's probably doing the right thing here.
Yes, sir.
But then there's a difference between a guy that's piled up everything in his house out in his front yard. and burnt.
Couches, mattresses. So
But is it possible to be that subjective?
that's where,
In a litigation nation like we are, is it possible? You understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. And
I would
again,
say yes. I would say yes, that you have that discretion because a big part of criminal law is intent. So you get the ability to determine the intent of the individual that was out there and what they were trying to accomplish.
So it's the same thing with the fees that we talked about earlier, and everything that I do in my office. I will always start out with an educational period. I want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I want to educate the public because there are genuinely people that I walk up on that genuinely did not know that those things existed. And I know that they did. So I want to educate. Part of the fire marshal, one of the pillars of the fire marshal's office is public education. And so that's what I'll always start out with is education.
But Bobby knows, and he's got brush piled up everywhere.
yeah, I got it, Paul.
Now he knows.
I'm gonna burn it.
It's just
Fine.
difficult. It's difficult to walk that line, you know what I'm saying? Because if his neighbor calls in and smoke is running across there,
That becomes a nuisance smoke.
you see where it gets real tricky for us to say, the more, it's like our liberty ends, like I can swing my fist anywhere I want to, but if it gets into Cliff's nose over here, then I've lost, that's the extent of my liberty, and
You
so,
exceeded your liberty.
yeah, and then something else happens, but,
I got
so it's difficult for us as a nation. I just want to make it clear because our county's changed so much. My neighbor burned his barn down 3 times when I was a kid, his own barn. But our county has changed so much, and the older people that live in our county are not up to speed.
Yes, sir.
and they feel like they've lost their liberty, including me. I'm an older person in the community. But I also understand that, I had a neighbor the other day that just moved in and he put a board up and took a 30-06 and started doing target practice with houses all around, like he thought the board. So I understand that there's a balance and everything, but most of the time we're out of balance on everything. Like, I'm a less government type person. I want less government, but it seems like the more lawless we are, the more government we have to have.
How does this affect burning pastures?
That's part of agriculture management. And there's a section on the guide that talks about when you're doing that, where you have to put fire breaks in and all that kind of good stuff. And when I say fire break, that's using your tractor with a.
I think it's bricks. I don't know if that's gonna work.
No. I'm talking about a fire break where you're taking it down, taking it down to dirt.
You can't burn your neighbor's pasture.
I think it's brick.
Okay, so we're not deciding anything today. We're just talking about you trying to educate the community.
Yeah, because originally my original introduction when I saw these numbers was that's in the future that will be an indicator where I will request a burn ban because it's gotten out of control.
Well, we had a beautiful day on Friday
Yes, sir.
and people set fires, and Saturday the wind blew 56 miles an hour, and that's when you had 40 fires, probably.
Surely nobody started a fire Saturday.
No, but the ones that were burning Friday got out because that wind picked up and blew them out of wherever they were at.
Yeah, there was one that I went to where there was proper construction where they had hit someone that started the fire on a Monday, thought that it was out, and then on Saturday when the winds picked back up, it caught it back up and went back over again.
Okay, I'm good with the education.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sir.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Kevin, appreciate it. All right, there's no action on that item. Item number 8, discuss and consider authorizing the county judge to sign a resolution to apply for indigent defense grant program. Suppose you're unaware, indigent defense is something that the county is required to provide to people who get arrested and cannot afford. As part of the Miranda rights, if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. Well, that's what we pay for. That's what you pay for. And to the tune of a little over $600,000 a year for this county. And this is a grant that gives us just a little bit back. And the auditor's office goes through a great amount of record keeping in order to do this grant so that we can get roughly $40,000 to $50,000 back. So and it's in there. Is there a motion to approve allowing the county judge to sign a resolution to apply for the indigent defense grant program?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 9, discuss and consider RFQ for engineering study for the current jail facility. One of the things that we need to do in order to move forward with the jail is to actually see what the condition of our current jail is. It was built in 1992, and the engineering study, as opposed to structural analysis like we did on the other building, but the engineering study needs to go in to look at the mechanical, the plumbing, electrical, security. Plumbing is the primary one. We're actually going to scope the pipes, and it's a pretty intensive deal to see if it's what the condition is, if it's worth trying to add to it or if it's not. And so what I'm requesting is that we allow us to go out for a RFQ for engineering firms, and I have several names so that we can submit it to RFQ is a request for a quote. And I would propose that the jail committee be the one to work on this.
I'll motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Motion is made and second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. All right. Motion passes. Item number 10, discuss and consider authorizing the sale of fireworks for San Jacinto Day, which is April 21st, 2025. And I assume I have Fire Marshal still here. We didn't talk to him about that. we have to actually, approve the sale of fireworks for, San Jacinto Day, and this is a resolution that does that. You go with that, okay. I guess I should have asked you before I put it on. I thought I did, maybe I did, I don't remember, I did the one, yeah, the text in the text.
Which I didn't really see any in March for Texas.
No, I don't think the word got out very well on the Texas Independence Day. I didn't see a lot of sales of fireworks. I didn't see a lot of fireworks stands open. So,
Well, I think they need time to order and all the rest of that business before they, so.
Well, they know they know all the dates, the state has set all the dates for when they can and cannot sell. The deal, so is there a motion to authorize the sale of fireworks extending to Jacinto Day, April 21st, 2025, or there's a range there, there's a motion?
I'd make that motion, authorize the sale of fireworks San Jacinto Day.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Item number 11, discuss consider appointing Chet Clayton to the Net RMA Board of Directors to represent Van Zandt County. Chet is our current representative, and he, for the last 2 years, and he needs to be reappointed, and I talked to him, asked him if he would be willing to serve again. He said yes.
I'm motion.
All right, motion is made second. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I say something first?
No, can you or may?
May I?
You may.
About number 9. I know we've moved past it.
Go ahead.
We're doing an engineering study on our current jail.
Correct.
We're requesting for a quote to get some
Requesting for a quote.
engineers. And then we'll move from
To
there.
see if it's feasible to work on it.
Correct.
So I think that's the right decision. I just think should have been done. I know. Before we did all the other stuff. I just want to state that. I think we're out of order on a lot of things and it's, I know we're trying to recover. And get our stuff together. But this probably should have been done a long time ago.
All right. Was there?
That's my statement.
Okay. There was?
Yeah.
On the adjournment?
Yes, sir.
Who motioned to adjourn?
Brandon did, and I second.
All right, and Bobby, and before you're rudely interrupted?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
No, you had that.
But I can. I have the capability of being rude, but I won't.
All right, we start the workshop in 5 minutes on economic development.
It is right.
Thank you.
We have 5 minutes.
Hey.
Come on, right?
You,
you wanna, make some with me? So most of my liaisons, talking to them probably around the work. I only need to do a better job of keeping going. I'm moving on how that works this year.
Well, I wasn't really against it.
Oh, yes, sir, yes, sir. I wanna make sure you understand, because I understand as a commissioner, you're sitting, your people are gonna come to you asking you what's up. So I need to educate you so that you know.
And then I'm out here.
I'm just thinking I got big old brush pile behind. I got a bird.
I do too.
So if y'all maybe can think of a time that I can come by and go over that stuff in more detail, I apologize that I can give y'all more.
Let's get away from right here.
Oh, yes, sir.
Come around here.